And we've got the screen mirrored on the laptop here. So you guys can watch this as we're sculpting.
It's an exercise ball. You're done.
Before we get too far in, can everybody hear all right? Everything looking good? I see we're back, so that's good.
Just make sure when you talk, so you can reach this speaker.
Well, okay.
And we got this one here near us. So
Okay.
probably won't be able to hear his more. So it's,
ZBrush, you're right, William. ZBrush is hard and awesome. There's no doubt about it.
has anyone told us they can hear us? Can they hear us?
Well, I think that yup is me. Is for the sounds great.
Looking sounds great. Okay, perfect.
All right, cool.
And it's just, Nate, just so you know, you're in there.
All right.
Representing Power Lords. You should just sculpt that. It shows up right there.
If I had a picture in front of me, I could do that. Yeah, I don't know what we're going to do here just yet. So I'm not going to get too technical about this stuff. I mean, mostly I'm just going to sculpt something fun, and you guys just can look and see what the general process looks like. We're going to do some sort of a head here. And usually what we do here, we just, if you're starting from scratch, sometimes we might take a head that already exists and start stretching on it, but here I'm going to go ahead and just start completely from a sphere, just so you can see a more full process with it. So this is a sphere here. This is one of the what they call primitives, which it's just the basic shape that you can start with. And one of the things that I've done here, if you can see the cursor moving around there, I put symmetry on, so that from front view it's a side to side symmetry. There's several symmetries that you can do on it. You can do a radial symmetry, you can do a symmetry from top to bottom, symmetry from front to back, and you could even do all of those at the same time if you'd like, depending on what effect you're going for. So what I'm going to do here, go to the Move tool, and the Move tool, I need to make it a polymesh 3D. All right. I need to.
So you said you learned this like overnight, right?
Can you hit Control-Z for me on there so All right, so this is the one part of the setup is Control-Z is basically step backwards to whatever you did. So normally in ZBrush, I find myself sculpting with my one hand on the screen and the other hand on the Control-Z constantly. But since I've got the monitor turned around toward the camera, it's out of my reach right now. So
I'll be your Control-Z baby.
All right. So Billy is going to be my left hand. Alright. I'm glad you guys can't hear everything going on in the background here. Alright, so I made it into a polymesh 3D, which means that it's a sculptable piece now. And like I said, I got the Move tool going. I've made my tool size large. You can change your tool size to huge or tiny. And depending on how big it is, you get a different effect out of the tool. And so Move is something that we use quite a bit for just stretching pieces out and making some of the base forms. I don't know. What kind of head are we going to do here, guys?
Go for something alien. Go something alien ogre.
Perfect. Alien ogre.
Fire shark lizard.
All right, hold on.
Well, it's got to be something that can actually be accomplished here within a reasonable amount of time. And I can tell you fire shark lizard is not it.
Fire shark lizard.
No, we're gonna go with
We're
Alien.
gonna go back.
Do an egg.
Alien, I can get away with more.
Just some weirdness, something. Just,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
to show. I mean, it doesn't have to be like a step by step, but at least just
Yeah.
to show how a ball becomes something.
How a ball
Right.
becomes a man.
Like, yeah.
This is also weird too because I can't use the shift button. With the shift button, locks when you're rotating the
reset it up
piece.
so that you have more.
It's not gonna. I'll make it work. But the shift button snaps it into a perfect up and down or side to side. So this thing is going to look tilted quite a bit because I'm not going to be
Tell me when you want shift.
snapping it.
Just have to hit shift.
Yeah. All right, yeah, let's try it. Do a shift. You got to hold it until I let go of the pen. There we go. All right, that works. So
Just call it out. Shift, Control Z.
So this is a lot of times. This is the fun part where we're just taking the tool and just pulling out shapes and forms. And it's very much like traditional sculpting in the rough stage where you're just making quick decisions, and it's making these pulls and pushes is the equivalent of just throwing clay onto the piece, or just taking a quick, you're just scooping out a piece of clay really quickly. You guys can fill in when I stop talking too, because I'm thinking and talking at the same time. Doesn't always work.
It is. Want to use some of your interview skills? Ask any questions.
Looks like he has encephalitis.
Okay, forget it. Do you enjoy just kind of messing around like this, like more than you had like? And when you have a piece of clay and you have, you kind of have an idea where you're going with it, to take it apart again there's a lot more work than a Control Z undo, and then like. How do you like? Does it kind of give you more freedom to kind of mess around and just play when you have a digital thing?
Yeah, absolutely. That's we were talking about it the other night. Like that's one of the biggest surprises for switching over to digital for me. Is I knew that there's a lot of technical advantages that you get out of it, as far as the symmetry. Is huge. If you're a traditional sculptor, you spend your entire life striving for symmetry, and it takes a tremendous amount of time to work, especially you rough out that first half and then go in and try to match it. You're spending so much time on it.
With rulers and calipers and
Yeah, and just like holding a mirror up to it so you can see if it's matching up to what you're seeing on the reflection in the mirror, and
same height, so you get an eye. It might be perfect, but it's 2 millimeters too high.
That's the worst.
Yeah.
Like half a millimeter. Yeah, right.
and then you might have sculpted something that looks perfect, and then you go through the pain of ripping it down or starting over.
That already looks like an alien.
Bill, you want to shift me again there? That's good.
In Europe, shifting means making out.
That's what he meant.
Really?
I wanted to be sure.
Is that inappropriate?
It's not inappropriate. It's just I wanted to be clear what he was asking of me.
How much shifting wants?
How much shifting do you want to do? And in public.
What I knew going in that there was, like I said, there's going to be a lot of those technical things like that were going to be really advantageous. But the big surprise to me was that there's the creative aspect of it was just so much more than I ever expected. Like, you really have the ability to make those decisions, and you have no fear with it because, like you said, if you make a mistake, all you have to do is press a couple of buttons and you go back. Or all along the process of going along the piece, you also can save whenever you want. So if you've got multiple saves going on, and you spend 15 minutes working past one of the saves, and you realize, you know what, this actually looks terrible. you can just go back to the last save and you didn't lose
Take it from there.
anything. Shift me again, little Bill. Or Nate. Anybody? All right, thank
It's
you.
also that here you can go backwards, but when do you know when to stop? When you've reached it. Like I could do a little more detail. I could give like
Is there
wrinkles,
ever?
like,
You
add
never
more
know. Does
faces.
that ever get to? Has that ever reached that point? I don't think.
Right.
You think I've ever done that reached the point where I'm
It's
like,
usually a
okay, I'm
deadline.
done.
It's the deadline. The due date.
Yes.
The due date is the stop date.
Yeah, really, it's really the truth.
And even then, you're still trying to push it.
Yeah.
Somebody hold down shift for me.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. Control Z me.
Control Z me, baby.
And then
there you
actually just hold shift down. So shift is also the
The smoothing.
the smooth button. So all right, let go of it for a second. Hold it down again, please. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if group ZBrush is a normal thing,
But it sure is fun.
all right, I'm good.
Would it be called a? Never mind.
So that's the move tool that I've been using, which is good for just getting those base shapes. Another great tool at the beginning is this clay build-up, where this is a lot like the rough out stage of traditional clay, because it adds the material here in a very hard edged.
Let me know when you want me to
rough
hit
way.
Option or Alt. You know why?
Oh, because that's right.
For
Yeah,
cutting.
right. Like if you use Option or Alt, then yeah, go ahead and do it. I'll show it.
Okay.
So that takes it from an additive to a subtractive. So now I'm cutting in rather than adding, which that's what's amazing about this. Every tool that's good. Every tool you've got an additive and a subtractive. You can alter the intensity. You can alter the focal shift, which is kind of like the sharpness of it, and you can change the draw size on it as well. So every tool has so many different opportunities for mark making with that tool that your toolbox is unlimited. And on top of that, there's these things called alphas that are similar to texture stamps. And if you're getting into those, then whatever tool you have, it applies that texture stamp in a different way. And again, the texture stamps are additive and subtractive, and you can add or subtract the intensity of those. So that's one of the issues, I think, for a lot of people, and it definitely was for me getting into digital, is that I was used to a toolbox where I had maybe 20 tools in it, and
3 or 4 of your favorites, right? Your main ones.
yeah, absolutely. Like I probably had 3 that I used constantly.
Shadow Toy says it's like watching the Bob Ross of sculpting.
Wait until I drop a happy tree right in the middle of this thing.
Taco Bell.
Happy Taco Bell.
And then all of a sudden you get onto this program where, I mean, with all the different combinations of the intensity and size and all those variables, you've literally got millions of different tools. It's so overwhelming. It's just the program is very intimidating when you get in. It's very I think some of it is very counterintuitive when you get into it if you're a traditional sculptor. I don't know if you're somebody who kind of grew up doing digital work. It might be more intuitive. But when you're working traditionally, you sculpt with tools. And you sculpt on clay. And this, you sculpt with a brush, and the thing that you're sculpting is called a tool. Why? just the terminology alone is hard to get used to. And then there's certain tools on this, on the interface. There's two different move tools. They're called the exact same thing, but they work completely differently. The same thing for scale and rotate, right on your interface. So if you're watching a tutorial, or especially if you're trying to read about it, the opportunity for confusion is just boundless with this thing. I'm using this build-up tool a lot here while I'm talking. I usually jump around more, but since I'm talking at the same time,
I think even just the confusing part is just opening up that brush palette. Your tool palette is like,
you
open it up and there's like 500 things right there, and you're like, what is happening? Like,
all of those are.
Completely out of focus.
Why is it out of focus?
I don't know. It was when I opened it.
Oh, that's weird. Yeah.
Wow.
It is weird. Well, if you could see all those blurry little images
Those
on
blurry
there.
little boxes are all the tools or brushes.
See?
Thank you.
Proving my point right there. And then I just quick Nate, you want to hold down shift for me there for a second? And then all this stuff I'm doing here, Nate's just holding down shift for me. And I'm just lightly grazing all of this with the pen now.
So
And
if you were encapsulating, this would be like licking it with some fire.
yeah, this would be using the alcohol torch on Castellan, except you can't melt this, and I did it that fast.
If you do it too much, you can't unmelt it.
Right. I'm going to go to Damien's Standard, which this is one of the brushes. Like, this is one of the go-to brushes, and so this is, you'll use it a lot for carving in. It's kind of almost like a pen in a way.
Grim says, draw like the wind.
Which was this? Damien brush?
Damn standard.
Damien's
damn
Standard. Yeah. And it's so you can see what I'm doing here, and then I can take this down smaller, and these start to get very, very tight. So if you're looking to get tight wrinkles going on, that was CB's ringtone.
Dance break.
Calling you.
I just denied it. It was a 9-7.
This is where we dance. And then I can go real big with this too.
That
And
must have
then
been amazing for those viewers watching on that one. Oh, yeah.
this is
For anyone with headphones.
this is cool when you go big because it does less of a line, and this starts manipulating the larger areas of the surface. So it has a really nice way of pulling the material and making it kind of buckle and bend to your will. Not having that shift button on my hand is driving me crazy because it's such a part where you're just constantly
Hit it back and forth.
like give me hit it there for me like this. These are real sharp now. I'll just go back and do that. And
Hey, why did the camera go black? It's still on.
I see it on my phone.
Oh, you can see it on your phone?
Yeah.
I'm gonna move it over here, and maybe we can get a little. Maybe they'll be able to hear us and see this thing. So right now we're watching Eric, Four Horsemen, do a little ZBrush sculpting. You can see a little bit on this side. Back, see people that have their own too. Start waving to people.
Some people are asking for the 3 p.m. giveaway.
Is it 3 already? Is it time?
Since it's after 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Let's see. Double up. There's more.
Shall we do a test shot?
Here's Nate. They're on.
is CB so
Does he have both horns? I have no idea. Alright.
And all of this that I'm doing right now is still very low resolution. And
Eric, how long do you think it took before you felt really comfortable with it?
I'll let you know when it happens. Yeah, it really is a gradual process. You go through.
I don't know. So here, this is.
You get to the point after a while where you have some sessions that you're happy with, and then you have some terrible ones, and then you might get another one where you feel good about it, and it just kind of slowly happens where you almost don't realize that you're figuring things out.
Do you still do you switch back and forth? Like you'll either maybe start in wax and then move to digital, back and forth, or are you just straight all digital now?
I'm all digital now. I mean, we have so many sculpted assets from 20 years versus years of traditional sculpting that we do sometimes scan pieces in for various reasons, and then we can turn that into digital. Like, for example, on the Masters Universe stuff, we're making sculptures that are essentially backwards compatible with 10 years worth of figures, and so we'll scan those parts in so we can make the new parts in a way that they fit all the existing parts, and the joints will go together and things like that.
For someone looking to get into digital sculpting, it's a little bit on the expensive side, right?
It is, depending on what equipment you already have. Compared to what getting into some of this stuff was, not that long ago. It's not that bad. ZBrush is under $1,000. Depending on what type of computer you have, you may have a powerful enough computer already to run it. I'm working on a Cintiq, which is a tablet that actually is also has like the monitor in it, so I'm drawing directly on the screen. You can also use a tablet where you're using it more like a mouse, where it doesn't have the image on it, and your hand is doing one thing while you're looking at the screen.
Obviously, the Cintiq is more expensive.
The Cintiq varies too, depending on the size. Like a large Cintiq, that might be more like the size of your desktop computer monitor, is in, I think, like the 2,000, 2,500 range, whereas one that more like a tablet size one, I think is in the 800 to 1,000 range. I mean, it's definitely not cheap, but there was a time where it was a lot more cost prohibitive. And 3D printers are becoming so much more reasonable too. Like back when we first started hearing about digital, 3D printers were in the $80,000 range, and now you can get a printer that puts out gorgeous prints for more in the $2,000 to $3,000 range.
And they're smaller size too, like the overall print machine.
Oh yeah, you don't have to dedicate an entire room to the printer now. You can put it on a table.